This is Steve, not Mike, which sometimes happens. But with me is Josh Brokaw, and we're going to talk about the Riverhounds performance last night, Saturday night. Before we get into that, Josh, how you doing?
Good. I'm not enjoying the heat wave that Pittsburgh has going on right now. Started yesterday. It was very warm for the game.
Yeah.
I did spend the first half pretty much hiding from the sun by hanging out on the other side of the field.
As you are wont to do.
Yeah, I just could not do it. And then even though like the second half the second half, it was pretty much like the sun just blaring into the section and no one could see anything. Everyone's like holding, their hand above their eyes. Even if you have a hat on, you're like trying to see what's going on. So did not feel like Dick was going to have a good time or did have a good time for that part of the game. It's just so hard to see.
Yeah. I did not make it down. I was working on some electrical rewiring all afternoon yesterday. Started the day before, or on Thursday when I had off, and finished it up yesterday. And like being up in the ceiling trying to work on a ceiling fan and the wiring for it and whatnot, I was so warm doing that. And then by the time I finished, I was just so exhausted. I fell asleep, didn't even realize I fell asleep for a little while. Woke up to somebody asking in our Slack about stream for the Riveters game. And I was like, oops, I fell asleep. All right. Well, yeah, I guess I'm definitely not going now because I haven't eaten anything. Like I'm not ready to go. So this weather is crazy. Speaking of the Riveters, if you didn't see, definitely recommend going back and watching the highlights of that game, if not the whole game. Kaz and Liz will be breaking that down early this week. But it was a dramatic late equalizer for them right at the end, and puts them in a great position to take the division on Friday against Steel City. So,
a win would have been a great position.
It would have.
But the draw does keep them in it, keeps it alive, and does mean that a win next week will cement that position. But yeah, it was definitely dry. I just got done watching it before recording today, so it was it's fresh on my mind. And it was a frustrating game, but knowing the score line before going into it really made it less scary.
Yeah. Well, and then to add to it, it was supposed to be a 6:00 game.
Yeah.
And there was, I don't know what the delay was. I didn't go back and try to figure that out. But it was delayed, so it didn't kick off until after the Hounds game. And both games finished within just a few minutes of each other. And so kind of like a really dramatic way to end the night, having them get that goal and the Hounds get the win. And so within just a few minutes of each other. So that was great.
It had something to do with a game that was happening before their game went over. So like the men's team was playing and like they went, and I don't know why their game got started late, but it was started late. So I think by like 45 minutes almost, they had to like wait for that game to get over, and then they have to like clear people out, I'm sure, or like whatever they have to do between.
And the teams have to warm up, right? Like all that stuff, all the pre-game stuff. So So we will hear more from Liz and Kaz, but we get to talk about a win at Highmark.
Which means a victory beverage, which has been a while.
We'll get into this. It's not as wild as I thought it was overall, at least in the league, but that's still things to talk about with that. So a few things to note about this game. Charles All got the start in midfield because Danny Griffin was overcoming an illness, but Danny was on the bench and did end up coming in. And then Jackson and Williams both started up top along with Robbie Mertz. And so some of those things that we've been hoping to see, all getting some time, and Jackson and Williams on the field together. quick rundown of what happened. Hounds took the early lead on an own goal. It was a corner that Mertz took. It deflected off the foot of a former Riverhound mainstay, Tommy Van Kuyzeel. That was in the 15th minute. And so I like to think that Tommy just felt so comfortable and cozy in the confines of Highmark that he got confused for a split second, was like, oh, I should be scoring on this goal because that's not the players wearing yellow. I doubt that's what happened, but that's my headcanon, right?
I'm going to interrupt because I just have to talk about this goal because it cracks me up. Watching it live was like surprising. You're just like, how did he accidentally put that in? But then watching it on the replay, even more confusing.
Yes.
It was like, what? No one was pressuring him.
Nope.
It wasn't like he just like, oh, I'm going to basically do a shot on goal. And it was so confusing. The Steel Army, just so everyone knows, did break out into our from France to West Virginia. He's going to be a star, chant.
Did he react at all?
No, I don't think so. Like, I don't even know if he heard, but it was definitely Jordan was on the spot. As soon as that goal goes in, it's just like, all right, we're doing the Tommy V chant.
Oh, gosh.
He used to play for us. I think his last year was 2020. So, he played for us for a good amount of time. And, so 5 years later, just getting that chant resurrected was hilarious.
And I think the best thing about that is the Steel Army has grown quite enough, and there's been enough transition. Obviously, a lot of people that are still around from that era, but there's probably a lot of people that had no idea what was going on.
I mean,
so that's kind of fun that there's that history that we can continue to help other people learn about. Hounds got the second one. Williams scored on a cross off a header 5 minutes later, and then Tampa snatched one back in the 40th minute. I'd say the entire second half was pretty cagey. So, Josh, give me a takeaway.
Yeah. First off, I do want to talk about Augie finally getting that goal. Hasn't had a goal since the home opener or whatever, or the first game of the season. Was it even the home? I can't remember.
I think it was away in North Carolina.
Yeah, away. That's right. It was at home. It was away. That was the only time he scored in league play. So it is nice to see him get that goal. And it was a good goal.
It was.
I was at the other end of the field when it happened because, like I said, the sun was blaring into our section, so I was hiding from it. But rewatching the game today, seeing that goal, it was great. I mean, it wasn't even. It was like what, Mertz to Biasi, then Biasi, crosses it in, and Augie gets his head on it, and it just gets past the keeper. It's great. It's a great goal. So it wasn't even like a fluky goal, which I was a little bit worried about when I first saw it because I was so far away. I'm like, oh, did it just like bounce around? And like, did he just like barely get it? Like, I was really worried that it was not going to be a solid goal, and it was. So granted, he missed another opportunity a little bit later, but it was still good to see him finally get that goal. And I'm hoping that helps, kind of get that confidence up. And although we have talked about it's not Augie's fault as far as like he's not getting really many chances to make an impact on these games, I still think there's been plenty of opportunities where he might only get one opportunity per game, but he has boggled it. So hopefully this helps that.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think what really stands out to me is it's not just that Augie did well on that play, that there were multiple other players in the box, and that helped him have the space to not be shut down by 2, 3, or more defenders, as we've seen at times. And so I think that is part of that. I think some of the stats kind of back some of the more offensive opportunities off quite a bit, right? Like this is one of the few games where the Hounds had a lot of shots. They had 15. But I think more important than that 7 of them were on target. 12 of their 15 shots as well, though, were inside the box. And that's something we've been calling for, is that the ball needs to be inside the box. We've seen some good goals this season. We've seen some great goals from outside of the box. But we're not going to, as we've talked about over the past few months, see a lot happening offensively if we're not finding those players in the box. And so for me, that's a really good thing to see. And I think that's also partially why he was able to have success on that goal.
Yeah, and Mondo's in the chat, and he brings this up, but having multiple attackers on the field made a huge difference. Completely agree. And speaking of like shots outside the box, we did see a lot of Hounds take opportunities this game to take those shots, and none of them went in. So it wasn't great, but it was definitely like Burton got a couple shots on outside the box going. Jackson Walty, I think, got a couple of shots or one shot at least. So there were plenty of opportunities where this could have been more. That kind of also goes into one of my gripes about this game. It did not feel like we were playing the last place team in the league. Like, it felt like a competitive, good game. I'm not saying Tampa blew us away by having lots of opportunities, but there was definitely, they were in it the whole time, especially getting their goal, which how Artega, was it Artega or how do you say his name? Yeah, Artega. He just had that like top of the box, no one around him was able to get a clean shot off, and it's just disappointing to see that happen, especially when Hounds go up by 2, never happens. So having 2 goals, you're feeling like, all right, now that defense can kick in and all that, and it just didn't. And they allowed that goal, so it never felt like a comfortable game.
Yes, yeah. I think I will give Arteaga credit that is not an easy goal, and he did really well to score that goal. I mean, finding the space between some defenders that were in front of him and just a little bit of space between the post and Eric Dick. And so I want to give him credit for that. But I think it is indicative of what you're talking about, that this is a game where I think I put in our podcast Slack last night that I see a lot of similarities with Tampa, as I've seen with the Hounds this season, where you can see the individual quality of the players on the field. And at times it's not coming together for that final product. And I feel like that Tampa is a team, much like the Hounds, that given the right setup, the right tactics, can be very dangerous down the stretch for the rest of the season. So I'm not going to count Tampa out. I am thrilled to get the victory. I'm not necessarily sure that I am convinced, though, from this victory that all the problems that we've been talking about this season and last season are gone. But one of the other things that Mondo's comment was referencing, right, having more attackers on the field. And I don't think that's just Augie and Berton. I think Charles All added a lot to the attack. And even his ability to play anywhere in the midfield. And there were times where he was dropping back into that defensive midfielder position and Walty was getting forward. And so that kind of movement was really good to see. And I think that helped change the point of attack throughout the game. So I'd like to see a lot of that continue this season. Give me another takeaway, Josh.
Dick had a fantastic save in this game as well. Made himself wide, was able to get an arm on it, and then he was actually able to trap the ball. There was another issue, though. I think it was Suber did a back pass to Dick, and it was just nowhere near him. And he had a scramble to try to get the ball. He gets onto the ball, but then he slides out. And so Tampa gets a corner kick. And it's just like that was so sloppy and like, I don't know. It was frustrating to see that happen. And you could tell Dick was frustrated. And then especially once that goal happened, it was a little bit later. It wasn't because of that, luckily. But when that goal went in, I could really tell the rest of the game, Dick was just upset. Like, he was just like not having, he didn't look, as jolly as he usually does. Right. He was definitely, beating himself up about that one. And I rewatching it, I do think it was probably a softer goal. So I understand why he felt, like he should have had that. But at the same time, he had a great save later on in the game. And there's definitely, he made this game not a 1-1 or a 2-2 game. So
yeah.
I don't think he should feel too bad about it, but yeah.
Right. I think there's the other side of that as well, the other side of the field where he kept this from being a tie game. and the Hounds could have done better at putting this game away. You talked about Williams having a shot. Was it Jacqueson had one that he really should have gotten on the end of?
Yeah.
And there was another one, and I don't remember who took it, that looked really good leading up to it, but just
Mertz had a actually it was almost a mirror image of if I remember it was like he was at the top of the box, wide open, gets the ball, and it was just like a weak attempt, and it got
the early one. Yeah.
I thought that one was like that was basically a sitter almost. Like I thought he really should have at least had a good kick on that. I think he felt like he was being more pressured than he was, and so he took it fast and sloppy, and it just although we got lucky as well, because I think it was I was trying to remember when it was, but it was Alvarez, like their other attacker. He had a similar situation, but he was like on the left hand side, and I think he got it past to him, no defenders in front of him, just him and Dick, and he thought he had to take it fast, even though there was no one around him. So he whiffed it, and it was an easy save. Or I don't even think it went to Dick. I think it actually wasn't on target. But it was a situation where if he would have settled that ball, we would have been in huge trouble. So there were, again, a lot of things in this game made it feel competitive and made it feel, like a fun, entertaining game to watch for sure.
Yes.
But it did not feel like we were playing the last place team in the league, which we were. And
I think that if you watch this game out of context of the season that both of these teams are having, you think that this is Hounds Tampa Bay of old. And this is teams playing for those home playoff spots. In fact, we know that that's not the case. That fortunately with this, the Hounds do jump back up to sixth place. And this puts Tampa Bay back down at the bottom. But you're right. It didn't look like either of these teams should be sitting in those positions the way that they were playing. I was really, really impressed with Jackson Walty this week. I think that we've talked about, especially when we get to the player ratings, how he's been so consistent and everybody else has kind of risen to the occasion, that he hasn't had the chance to shine as much comparatively. And for me, I think this was one of his best games, both defensively, but because of that interchange with All at times, it gave him a lot more opportunities to go forward. And he had a couple of chances. I think he had 2 shots on target. And it stands out to me because it's something I've started to notice with him, that when he does get on the end of a ball, he is putting it on frame. And so I think that is going to result in, if he can continue to stay over the ball, get those on net, he's going to find a goal or two down the stretch this season. And that's really exciting. But just like, it's fun to see him be one of the best players on the field again for me.
Yeah. I do think I had this question. I kind of posted, I think, to the Steel Army Discord, trying to get a better gauge of this. So it's not as common to see All and Mertz on the field at the same time. When All has come in to the game from the bench 2 times out of the 4, it was Mertz who was taken out for All. So it's kind of like, you don't get to see them as much on the field together. And it's very rare to see Mertz, All, and Danny Griffin on the field at the same time. That was one of my questions going into this was, would I rather see All and Mertz or Griffin and Mertz? And I'm thinking All. Like I felt like All had a different vibe than Mertz and Griffin. I think Mertz and Griffin are great, and Griffin turned our season around not too long ago when we did have him for some time, and then suddenly he comes in and it's like, oh, thank God we got Griffin back, and now we're actually good again.
And then we win the Player Shield.
Yeah, right. Like that is definitely a thing. So right. I'm not saying we get rid of Griffin. All does have a different feel to him, and I do think it's much more attacking feeling, and it feels. But there's also the other side of this is I don't know if Mertz had a great game, and is that because All was doing a lot of stuff that we have Mertz do, You know what I mean? So like, I don't know how to feel about it, but it was cool to see them both on the field once. And I do think, even though I say Mertz didn't have a great game, he didn't have a bad game. I just don't.
Right.
He was not as standout as he has been in some other games.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that you bring that up. And I think that my take on that is not so much that it would be all in Mertz or Mertz and Griffin, but that all actually did some things that I think neither of those players have been doing this season. And so this past week, our good friend over at USL Tactics, John Morrissey, wrote a really, really good article about the Hounds and where we sit and some of the reasons. And he did a great job discussing how throughout the season, it looks like Lily has been deploying Mertz and Griffin in very similar roles. I think all being on the field changed that. So I don't know that I think it was all doing the things that Mertz usually does, but that he is a different type of player from Robbie and from Danny, and he can do some things that they don't do. I think there are things that they can do that he can't do as well. And so what I like about it is it gives us the opportunity to have another player in the midfield that is not just really high quality, and really high quality for a first-year pro, but really high quality in the attacking aspect of his game that I think is not something that Danny is excellent at. I think he's very good at it, but he's not a goal scorer, despite the fact that he has a lot of goals for us compared to everybody else this season.
Yeah, right.
And Robbie will get a few a year, but I'm not expecting Robbie to be that attacking goal scoring midfielder. I mean, as a longtime Chelsea fan, right? Like he's not going to be a Frank Lampard-esque goal scorer. And so all I think, though, he's got the ability to put 5 in the back of the net, 7 in the back of the net a year over the next few years if he's getting regular playing time. At least that's what I hope that he can do as he adjusts to the league. So that's kind of my perspective on where kind of that choice lines up. I think what's challenging is there a way we can see all of them on the field as well as other players that we want to see on the field?
Yeah. I have it in my notes that like 53rd minute, all did have a chance. He was wide open with the ball passed by Mertz, top of the box. He swings and misses the cross. I think he just whiffed on the ball, if I remember right. So that was one issue where I'm like, man, that would have been like, if you just got your foot on that, it would have been so much better situation. Like he was wide open. Like I think he could have gotten that goal easily. But there is another all moment in this match that I think we should definitely talk about. Running into the ref. It looked pretty painful.
Okay. I'm going to interrupt you right there.
You think the ref ran into all?
No. Just let's do this.
It's time for Mondo's moment, the top moment of the game from the Mandalorian.
This week's Mondo moment for the Riverhounds comes in the 63rd minute, when the referee was down from a bad collision with a player. Augie Williams, having scored a goal earlier in the match, steps in to aid the official, pause the game, and get medical staff on the field. The referee was okay. This is the way. And also, shame on you, Tampa Bay. Shame. What is wrong with you?
This has been Mondo's moment. Go Hounds.
So I was going to play that later, but you brought up the situation that applies to. And so, so the person that the official collided with was Charles Hall. Go ahead, Josh.
So all they collide. It looked bad. Like even watching the game in replay, like it was definitely, it looked painful. So she goes down and she's like trying to catch her breath. Like she can't, like she's in pain. Obviously goes down, stays down, and Tampa's just like, we're going to keep on playing. It's okay. And it's like, stop. Like, just stop. Like, the first question, does only she have a whistle? Like, does anyone, like, anyone else?
I believe that's right, isn't it? Yeah.
So, you could barely hear the whistle because I think he did it sheepishly. But when Augie takes her whistle and blows it because she's on the ground. So it's like, play has to stop, and he just like goes down and like blows the whistle.
Well, and I figure like as a player, like you're like, this is what I've got to do, right? Like I've got to stop it for her because she can't blow the whistle. But like I'm about to take a ref's whistle and blow it.
Yeah,
right?
like that was a
right?
risky move. Risky move, bro. Like I was like, I don't know. So Augie gets his goal that he's been searching for, and he got to play ref for a brief second and blow the play dead. So yeah, as long as she was fine. It seemed like it was definitely a hard collision, but
yeah.
I don't understand. Like you would think another official would have a whistle or something.
Right. Yeah. As Mondo says, none of the other officials stepped in as they should have, which I agree with. But I also
don't know how.
Think of like what does that even look like, right? Like because you've got the center official. They're the one that is in charge of controlling everything that happens in the game. You've got the lines people who are there to do out of bounds and offside and fouls close to that where they can go, but they don't have whistles. And you've got the fourth official. And the fourth official is just sitting at the table doing the administrative work, right? And able to come in an emergency situation for one of the other referees. But yeah, like
I just want the line judge to just pull a Roy Kent and just yell whistle.
Yes.
That would work.
I wish we had talked about this before and I had found that clip. But like, I mean, throw up your hands or something, right? Like wave and say, stop. I don't know. Like it was one of the most unique moments I think I've ever seen in soccer. And so one of those times where it's fun being a Hounds fan, it's fun being a USL fan for the weird random things that you see happen.
They didn't show it on the live stream, so I don't think anyone. I'm wondering if there's any issues that Augie could get into, any trouble he could get into for blowing the whistle, but like they didn't show it. Like I was waiting to see it on the replay. I was like, oh, let's see this. It's like, oh, they don't actually show him blowing it because I think since the action kept on going, the cameras just all went to seeing what Tampa was doing. And the other thing is the middle at the center line ref, he actually came out and like was like helping her while the play was still going. So like obviously the play should have been dead because at that point you have people on the field who aren't even supposed to be on the field. So
there was another moment in this game, wasn't there?
Yes, there was a pitch invader.
Again, this is fun.
This is only the second time I can think of that we've had a pitch invader in Highmark.
When was the last time?
Oh, forever ago. And I don't even think it ever really stopped play because like he came out when the ball was on the other side of the field and got a selfie with our I can't even remember which keeper it was. It was one of our keepers. He like got a selfie with the keeper then ran away. And like it was just like did that just happen? Like situation. But yeah, this one actually they had to stop play. A kid ran out on the field, went up to Augie. I think he was like wanting Augie to sign. Like it looked like he just wanted to say hi to Augie. Like, and then like the play gets whistled dead, and then everyone's like staring at him. And he's like, "Crap!" He runs away. He runs back up to where he was sitting in the bleachers. In the grandstand, like clear as day. Like their section, they were over by like I think it's like the family section, and it was like no one was even around them. It was like him and three friends. And so he goes up there and sits as if security's not going to come and get you.
So, I mean, this was not something that was visible on the broadcast.
Okay.
So, like, how old was this kid? Right? Like in my mind, like I'm like thinking like a 4-year-old, but what you're describing is not a 4-year-old.
No. This looked more like 9 years old. Like it was like old enough to know better. And dumb enough to still do it. You know what I mean? Like,
I think there's a big range. That
is a big range. To be fair, I agree. But yeah, like he old enough to like jump off like into the section, like from the pitch to into the grandstand.
Okay.
So yeah, like he he did the thing, and then he got up there and sat, and I'm like, I don't know what your plan was.
So
Liz thinks 15. I don't
Liz
think he was
thinks
that old.
15.
I
That
don't. Maybe that
I mean,
to me that's old enough to know better. But I thought I was giving him the benefit of
I
the
remember
doubt.
being 15 and doing things that I was old enough to know better and still doing.
All right. Well, fair enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a interesting night for sure with those two things combined.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, those are just some of the I think greatest moments that you can have as a fan being there at the stadium that is unexpected, right? Like, and that is not related to the actual performance on the field. So those are interesting, fun, random occurrences. Maybe not random, maybe poorly chosen occurrences, but things that are just kind of great. So back to this game, Josh. The actual tactics, play on the field, and whatnot. We've talked quite a bit over the past few weeks, month and a half or so. I think behind the scenes, I know I've brought it up on air, and I think a few other people have as well, talking about some of the substitutions. So I wanted to look at that a little bit deeper and just kind of get your take that we saw Jackson and All come out in the 68th minute. And in their place was Garcia and Griffin. And so seemed like interesting substitutions to me at the time when Tampa Bay was playing well to take off dangerous attackers for a guy that is overcoming an illness and a fairly good attacker in his first season, but one that he seems to me, Garcia, that he either is getting a worldy goal or he's making some runs, or he's someone that I'm not seeing do much on the field. And so I don't know if I feel that this was good substitutions or bad substitutions. So I want to hear your thoughts.
I'm actually okay with the Jackson for Garcia. Garcia for Jackson, I should say. Substitution. I feel like Garcia is a player that, especially if we're up, and I want him. He seems like he can be something really good for this team, and I like getting him out there. As always, it's like 70th minute type of substitution that we're seeing usually with Bob. Doesn't like to make a sub before the 70th minute, it seems like. So I'm not surprised by how late it came, but I do like seeing Garcia come in. And I'm like, Jackson wasn't doing terribly, but also, like,
okay.
I'm more okay with that. I think that's more like for like, and I also don't think you're losing much by doing that. All is a weird one. I thought All was doing great. I don't really. The only thing I can think of is if his, he has been injured and has had issues. So like maybe not playing a full 90 is just kind of something that they know he can't do yet. He's still on that min, maybe. I don't know, but that's what it kind of feels like. So it could just be a situation where like we want to get him out so he doesn't aggravate anything and we don't push him. So it's very possible that could be that. If it's not that though, if it was just fresh legs, I think you leave All out there, especially knowing Griffin just had an illness. Well, and then like he says he's 100%. Well, I talked to him after the game. Like, yeah, I'm great. It's like, are you? You were just in the hospital for being ill for like 24 hours or something like that. Like, and you have a small cough. You're hiding it, but I can tell. Like maybe you should be
calling Danny out live.
Just saying, Danny. Take care of yourself. So that one is the only one I really question for those two at least.
I like your argument about the Jackson Garcia swap. The All Griffin swap still puzzles me.
I still think it's probably more of a precautionary type thing, or like just him not being full 90 fit. But that's just speculation. That's me trying to find the benefit of the doubt here.
Yeah. I I think what concerns me about it is Danny can say he feels great all he wants, but we saw it a few years ago with Robbie, and we have seen it over the years, and I think we've seen it with players this season where getting rushed back from an absence or an illness or an injury. And so I was really, really troubled to see Danny coming in with 22 minutes left to play in a game where we had other options on the bench.
That's
and
fair.
it's not so much, I wasn't so much thinking about, is this needing to get all limited minutes? But for me, it's like, okay, have I been super impressed with Borgie? I don't know, because I haven't seen him in a while, and maybe he's improved and is able to do some of the things that we see that he will be able to do, but is still developing through. But you've also got Bradley Sample on the bench. So why are you not bringing in a player like Brad Sample in that moment when you have no need to put Danny Griffin on when you're up and you've got other options on the bench? So that's the concern that kind of what for me is most where I'm most conflicted about this, and just question the subs, I guess.
Yeah, I do think it's a little bit harder to make that judgment when it is illness, not injury. It, it's kind of a little bit more binary in my brain as far as like an injury. Like this type of injury takes usually 6 weeks to heal. You've been off it for 7 weeks. It's okay. Unless you are feeling it's not. And then, but with like illness, it's just pretty much, hey, how you feeling? Hey, were you able to run in practice? Okay. Well, you seem to be doing okay. If you say you're okay, you're okay. So I don't hold that one against Bob as a decision. I think Griffin was like, I want to play and I'm going to do it, say that I'm fine, so I can't play. A little bit more on him on that one. If he's not actually well, maybe I'm completely wrong and he is completely healed and he was somehow better after being in the hospital 2 days ago. Maybe. But I do think those two subs don't bother me. I actually trying to like think ahead. Like I don't think any of these subs really bother me that much. Beto coming out for Junior.
Yeah, no, that one I'm fine with.
Makes sense to me.
I questioned the last one more though.
Mertz did go down. He did have that cramp. I don't know how he was afterwards. I thought it was a little bit gamemanship maybe when he went down for that cramp. Although we had the ball and he stayed down. So I don't. That's the only thing that makes me think it wasn't gamemanship. He actually probably did have a Charlie horse or something like that going on.
Sure. For me, it's not so much Mertz coming off. It's again the decision of what you're doing there. Of why are you not bringing in Brad Sample this time? And because in the moment I got really nervous. It's like, okay, Bob is just like panic subbing a defender on wherever he can to try to make sure this game doesn't get away. And we've seen that happen at times and then concede a goal right away when people are still trying to figure out, okay, what's my new role defensively? It didn't happen, but it just like, that was my reaction in the moment last night. And I was just like, and so it stuck out to me as this is something I want to talk about. Am I alone in this feeling?
Yeah.
Maybe I am.
I think 88th minute making a substitution, obviously when you're ahead, that's a little bit gamemanship, trying to run the clock down and also putting on a defender, also realizing, hey, it's time to, batten down the hatches. Like it's not a situation where I would call that a panic. I would call that more, that is a tactical decision that I actually agree with. Like it's literally minutes left of the game. Maybe you just don't try to go for the, the clincher there to make it so you're out of range for a late goal and you instead defend. And this team can defend. It's not as good at defending as previous teams we've had, but they can defend. So I don't know. I'm okay with that one, especially if Robbie was a little bit injured from his fall earlier on and was looking gassed, which, like I said, he didn't have the best game in my opinion. So it wasn't a situation where I really thought he needed to stay on the field.
Yeah. Okay. No, overall, you've made me feel a lot better about the subs because it's been something I've been questioning a lot this season. And so, okay. Yeah. Good. Thanks.
I do want to kind of shift over to the yellow cards in this game. Some great ones in my opinion. Biasi getting his.
a Luke
obligatory yellow card.
Biasi yellow card that I absolutely love.
Yeah, I'd love to see it. You know, that's always great. Super got one earlier on, and it was also against Arteaga. Like they both were against Arteaga, which not mad about that.
Yeah.
Actually, in my notes, I put, you know, Super yellow card, foul against Arteaga, not mad about that. And then I wrote the exact same thing with Biasi, like not mad about that. And then,
in fact, I would say the Biasi one, not just not mad about that, absolutely love that.
Yeah, like good yellow. But the best one though was Arteaga getting a yellow for dissent or simulation or whatever it says dissent on the website. I think it was just being petulant, like him staying down with Dick. And it was funny because it's like the dying minute, not even minute, it's like seconds left in the match. Dick is down, has the ball. Arteaga is down, just sitting there staring at the ref, like, you gonna do anything? And like, Dick's not getting up. Dick's gonna wait for Arteaga to get up. So they're both just like looking at each other almost like, who's gonna get up first? I don't have to get up. I'm running down the clock.
Yeah.
And then when she came over and pulls out the yellow, they both get up. And I saw Dick like walk away, like, looking behind him, like, is she giving me a yellow or is she giving him a yellow? And then as soon as she gives it to Arteaga, like, he smiles. You can't see it on the camera because he's facing away from the camera. He smiles and winks at the crowd. And I was just cracking up at it.
Man, what a night at Highmark. Wow. I mean,
it was great.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Especially since Dick was in a bad mood, it looked like, after that goal, and like kind of seemed not completely happy about the game, but to see him smile and wink and just like have a little chuckle at Arteaga getting that yellow, perfect end to that game. Yeah.
All right, Josh, any other thoughts that you've got on this?
That's about it. I guess overall, I kind of already spoke about it, but this game did not make me feel all that great after the fact. It was fun at the moment. I'm glad we got the 3 points. I thought it was a good 3 points, but it was not resounding. It was a little bit lucky and unlucky not to get more goals, obviously, because I don't think Tampa played great, but it felt like a good battle, which worries me. So I don't feel like we're out of the woods. I don't feel like this is a turning point. We do have a lot of home games, though, coming up. So if there's going to be a moment where we start, looking a lot better and getting in the form, now's that moment. We say that every season, though, and we see that every season. The last little bit, we kind of started doing good, but I don't know.
Yeah. No, I think I really feel pretty similar to that. That for me, this is a frustrating game. That this was a 2-1 Hounds win because we got lucky with an own goal and we found the goal that we sometimes score each game. And we had a very good defensive performance to shut down a threatening attack throughout the night. And so this easily could have been a blowout for the Hounds. It easily could have been a blowout for Tampa on a different night, and with some of those plays that went our way or didn't go our way, went their way or didn't go their way, kind of going the opposite way. And so for me, I'm looking at this game. It's like, yes, a win, always a great thing. But do I feel any different than I did before this game last night? Am I going to go into the game against New Mexico on the 4th, which is the next league game, and feel any different than I felt going in against Tampa Bay? Yeah, I'll feel a little different. New Mexico's a better team. I'll feel worse.
It's also weird because like we have this Jägermeister game coming up, and it's against a lower division team, and it means pretty much absolutely nothing. So it's a weird moment for this game to happen because I do feel like it could be a good morale boost if we go out there and just clean up and the guys have a good time, and like it would be great to see Augie like get couple goals, like maybe like something like that would be good. But at the same time, I don't know if it's almost at the wrong moment where this game is going to break up the momentum and kind of feel like, hey, all right, we're on the upswing. Oh, now we're playing this pointless game that no one's going to take seriously, and we're going to have a bunch of subs on, and it's not going to matter.
So that's my question. Do you think we see a lot of rotation for this game?
I actually don't, because I think the thing that makes Jägermeister different than Open Cup is that it's not taking up another spot that we normally we have to plan around. Mm-hmm. It is just like a regular weekend game.
Yeah.
In fact, that's why the season is less games than it was, because Jägermeister is just taking away those games and making them Jägermeister games. So I don't think there's any there shouldn't be any complaints about the Jägermeister Cup as far as congestion of the schedule, because it doesn't cause any congestion of the schedule. If anything, I think Bob will not want to do rotation because he wants the players to be game fit for the following game, and this is a opportunity for them to get minutes in and an actual game in. So I hope not. I hope they take it seriously.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that they will go out for the win, because I think that is always the goal, whether it works or not. I wouldn't be surprised, though, to see a lot of the players that we think should be starting week in and week out only playing 60 minutes, getting some more rest and some tactical changes as well, right? Like, I could see this being a game where Augie plays for 55 minutes and Jacqueline plays 55 minutes on the other side of that. And so they have a little bit of overlap, but aren't on the field for much together.
That's fair.
I don't know, but I do think this is one of those times where I could see Bob putting players out there just to give them some time, because they're not getting the chance in the league. And he thinks that, well, I can beat a League One team with my eyes closed. But I don't know. This season's different. Yeah. We haven't been able to beat teams that we should be beating regularly, or that we feel we should be beating regularly throughout this season. So hard to tell, but you're right. It is a really bad time for this game.
It might not actually. Like, maybe this will have the opposite effect of what I'm thinking of, and it's a situation, like I said at the beginning, where it could definitely ramp us into it. Like, hey, they get crap ton of goals and get that that buzz going and remember how to score, and then they roll into the New Mexico match with that confidence. It's possible that happens. I'm not saying it has to be one or the other, but I just, it's a weird time to have a game that doesn't matter on the books.
Yes. And I think that's the frustrating part about it, right? Like, it's a game that doesn't matter. And so
it's only the first one, because we have another game that doesn't matter.
Don't remind me of that one.
The end of July.
Salty about that, because I have no desire now to plan a trip to go up to watch the Hounds play a meaningless game.
Yeah, it's sad.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. It's going to be a weird situation. But it's we have these 3 home games. 4 if you count yesterday's game in a row, and so this whole next couple of games, and they're not all going to be easy either, because New Mexico's a good team. Loudon is doing that weird thing that they're doing right now.
Being good.
Yeah, I don't understand. It doesn't make sense to me.
It's weird because it's Loudon.
Yeah, especially this year when they should not be being good, because their franchise or their whole front office is terrible. So I don't get it. And then followed that, we have an away game against Detroit. So it's definitely going to be an interesting month ahead of us. Yeah.
So interesting month ahead of us. Interesting month, like almost 2 months ahead of us. So this game against Tampa Bay was the first out of 8 home games in the next 10.
Yeah.
Which is insane. I think Mike called this Summer of Soccer, starts with the W for this episode. It really is the summer of soccer.
Mm-hmm.
It is home games, 6 straight weeks? 6 straight weekends. which is just insane. I mean, you've talked about it a little bit, Josh, of Hounds and Riveters packing the schedule up to this point, having a couple weekends. But now we're looking at like pretty much the next 6 weeks down at the stadium. I don't think that that's that different than what we've been going through with the Riveters and Hounds playing as frequently as they have been. But it's just a continuation of that. And so it's a lot of time down at Highmark. I love a long homestand. I don't know what to do with 6 games in a row.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot. We've dealt with this though before. Summer of Hounds, they've done it the last couple of years. So I'm excited for a couple of these games, especially thinking about the fact that we have the 4th of July game this year, which is fantastic.
And it's a Friday.
Yep, and it's a Friday, so it should be great. You know what we completely just missed over? We have to talk about this game a little bit more because we have to come up with 3 players.
Oh, we do. I was coming back to that.
Okay.
You kind of started talking about the next few games,
Yeah.
so I was,
I was ready to put this game away. I was like, okay, let's talk about other stuff that's going on. I was like, oh, crap, we have to come up with 3 players.
Yeah. Well, let's just do that.
Yeah. I want to, like, Augie, I think, did have a good game. And I think he should be on the list. I don't know where on the list, but I definitely think Augie should be on the list. It is a big moment for him to have that goal and hopefully get this turned around. And he had other moments. I mean, being a ref for a couple seconds was great. Like, I think he should be on the list at least.
Okay. Yeah. For me, Jackson Walty is on the list.
Okay.
I really, really liked and part of it for me is Walty was doing things well offensively. He was putting shots on goal. I think he did some things that on a night where the defense overall wasn't as sharp as it was, he was doing some things that relieved a lot of pressure for them. And then my favorite Jackson Walty moment of the night was going to the far corner over by the pub. With 2 players on him. I mean, just really smart. Was it 94th minute or whatever it was? Yep. Smart play. He had a pretty good line to go towards goal and made the right decision to go towards the corner and fighting players off over there and then trying to chase the ball down when they finally dispossessed him. And so it was just like, good fundamental end of the game soccer in the best way possible for me.
Yeah, he did have one play that upset me, but it didn't go anywhere. It was the one he headed it back to Dick, and it was not anywhere close to Dick, so he had to go chase the ball down, and a defender or an attacker for Tampa was coming right at him, and Dick had to scramble to get that ball. And it was a clinching moment where you're just like, don't screw this up.
Do you feel there is a player that didn't give you a moment like that in this game that also was really good on the other side of their game?
I will say Biasi is the other person I wanted to select for this because I can't think of a moment where Biasi really had a moment where I was like, what are you doing? I thought he had a good game.
I agree.
Yeah. So
I was hoping you would say Biasi because I'm like, it's not just Mike. I always pick Biasi too.
No, I actually did think Biasi had a really good game. So we have 2 of our usual staples in this this list, Biasi and Walty. And was just lucky we didn't pick Mertz as well. But yeah, Augie, Biasi, and Walty, I think are perfect list in my opinion. I don't know what order though.
It is really, I think, tight for me. I feel like just on the merits of the game-winning goal, I want to give it to Augie Williams.
I think Augie's
3 points.
Yes, I think Augie 3. I personally think Biasi 2.
Okay. I can go with
Walty
that.
had a good game. I just didn't think Walty had like his best game or like a
Let's do it.
standout game. Yeah.
Yep. So we got Augie Williams, 3 points,
Mhm.
Luke Biasi, 2 points, and Jackson Walty, 1 point.
There you go.
Bondo, take notes, pass that along to Mike for us.
No homework, just homework.
So the other thing that happened with this win is this is mind-boggling and surprising to me because it doesn't feel like this has happened. The Hounds actually have 9 points out of a possible 15 in the league in the past 5 games.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty close to where we want to be for the rest of the season, I think.
Yeah. I mean, it's weird because we had that disappointing loss against Indy, which really kind of took this, wind out of everyone's sails, and Rhode Island. But I'm trying to think how's that possible? How many games are you saying?
In the past 5, Tampa, Indy, Detroit, Rhode Island.
There's 2 Rhode Islands. That's what I'm thinking of.
Oh, yeah.
We won one of the away one.
But the loss was Jägermeister Cup, so I'm not counting that one.
Oh, you're not counting that one.
Yeah,
okay.
Right.
Gotcha.
Talking about the league only.
Yeah, so we lost against Colorado. We lost against Rhode Island. We lost against Indy, and we won against Detroit and Tampa
and Rhode Island.
I thought. I got those mixed. The one that we lost was the Jaeger.
Yep.
Got it. Okay.
Yep.
Now I'm on board now. I was thinking it was the other way around. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Which is like, if you would have told me that we'd be going into this stretch of league games, now granted, some not great performances in there as well, with losing to Rhode Island when they came a week later in the Jägermeister Cup, which is why we can talk about Westchester and Portland as meaningless games. But it just should I feel better? I still don't. But we do have 9 points out of 5 games in the league.
Yeah, but I mean, it's also who you're playing against that matters. I will say Detroit's not doing great. Rowdies are absolutely abysmal. Mm-hmm. The fact that Indy's not doing great either, and we lost against them. And then, Rhode Island is a good one, I think. But Rhode Island's also not doing great this season, if I'm remembering correctly. Where are they at in the table that we are absolutely positively allowed to look at now?
They're 2 points behind us, having played an extra game.
Yeah, they're so bad they're behind us. So that tells you. Yeah. So I don't know. I agree that it is good to have that number of wins, but I do think the caliber of the opponents we've been playing is not exactly stellar.
Well, and I think the numbers and the standings do back that up, that Detroit, of those past few opponents, is the only one that is actually outperforming us right now. And that's one of the teams we beat. But we're kind of in that mode of we're winning some games, losing some games against the teams that are in and around us or below us.
Yeah. Yeah. So are you confident that it's a top 8 this year, right? Making it into the playoffs?
Yeah. 2/3 of the division.
That's so stupid. But yeah,
it really is.
I think we're going to make the playoffs at this moment. I do think we're going to make the playoffs. I think that is mostly due to the fact that the top 8 teams make it in. I don't think we're going to be anywhere close to the top. I think we're going to be anywhere from 6th to 8th. Is probably where we're looking. Hopefully we go on tear. We do have a lot of home games, and if that's the case, maybe we're singing a different tune by halfway through this home stretch. We'll see. But right now, I think we're going to make the playoffs, though.
Yeah.
Do you have that confidence?
We'll see. Will we make the playoffs?
Yeah.
We should make the playoffs.
That's not what I asked.
Yeah, we should make the playoffs.
Okay. See, does it feel good to say that? I mean,
here's where it. Do I think we will end the season above Hartford and Miami? Absolutely.
Stellar stuff there.
Indy, Birmingham, Rhode Island, Tampa Bay are all teams that I think could be competitive with us down the stretch, and teams that at the end of the day, two of those teams are not going to make it. I don't know if we will be in that group or not. And I think a lot of it does depend on this home stretch, and then kind of the last, I think it's a month and a half of the season where we have a very regular home and away schedule to end the season each week.
All right. Well.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Josh, you got anything else tonight?
No, I think that's it. Yeah, it was good to get a W at home, obviously.
Yeah.
So no complaints there.
Yep. Well, Josh, thanks for joining me. Everybody, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. You know where to find us. All sorts of different places that I can't even remember. That's Mike's job to know, and he does all that work. So thanks, Mike, for doing all that work, so I don't have to. But yeah, tell your friends about us. And yeah, we'll see you all really, really soon.
Later.